You've worked hard to build a dream retirement. Now it's time to put that plan into action. This is Retire ATL with Aaron Vincent and Matt Decker. The team at Vincent Financial wants to help you build, protect, and grow income to get you to and through retirement. Now, Retire ATL with Aaron Vincent and Matt Decker.
This is the Retire ATL podcast, all powered by the Vincent Financial Group. You can get more when you visit retireatlradio.com. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for downloading. Now, let's get to the show.
My name is Mark Owens. Gentlemen, I want to jump right into it because we were kind of talking about the market off the air, and we're talking about the dangers of the stock market turning sour the year you retire and what could happen. And you started to tell a story, and you've read an article about a couple of brothers who had some money. They retired at different times, how the market affected them. And I said, time out. Let's do this on the air. So talk to me about what happens if the market turns when you want to retire.
That is the problem, isn't it?
It could be.
Because that's one of the things that none of us can control. And this is something we actually talk about in the educational workshops we do all over the North Metro area here. But yeah, a story about two brothers. And the one thing we both know is that no one can control what the market's going to do. And the market doesn't care about your plans. So you may have big plans to retire. This is going to be the year that you're going to make it happen. You're going to start withdrawing from this big portfolio that you've built up over the last 20 or 30 years. And you know who doesn't consult you about that decision?
The market?
The market. The market doesn't consult you. And so this idea of two brothers will set the stage. There's, I don't know, Al from Alpharetta. And
he's a good man.
And Jim from Johns Creek.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're brothers.
Two brothers.
And they both got $1 million. And one of them retires with good timing, and we'll explain what that means. And one of them retires with bad timing, good and bad timing. They're going to spend the same amount of money. They've got the same goals, the same lifestyle, the same amount of kids and dependents and all that. And yet one of them's going to pass away with, and let's say they live the exact same amount of time.
And they have the exact same investment makeup.
They even drive the same car.
Exactly.
They have the same mom.
That's right. That's right. Same investment makeup. That's right. One of them is going to pass away with a couple $1 million, and the other one's going to run out of money.
Again, same portfolio.
Same portfolio.
Same age. Same spending. Everything's the exact same in this hypothetical example here.
What happened?
That's the problem.
You got to call us to find out.
Thanks for joining us this week to get the rest of the
One
story.
has good timing, one has bad timing. And so what we're talking about is this idea called sequence of return risk. And so what is sequence of return risk? Sequence of return risk is the order in which you get your returns. So if we were to look back at the last 30 years of the S&P returns, and we just kind of put them in order, from 2025, let's say, going back to 1995. Is that 30 years? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 30 years.
Exactly.
Look at that.
Look at you.
Wow. Call us, 770-741-0120. So you take those 30 years of S&P returns and you line them up, and you'll have your negative 20s in there and your positive 30s and everything in between. So the order in which you get your returns is actually going to have an effect on your account balance.
Let's pause there real quick, just because this is such an important principle.
And it's counterintuitive.
It is counterintuitive, and it's extremely important. I think most people, I don't think I know this because we talk to them every day, operate in averages. Hey, in the past 30 years, the S&P has averaged X%, or in the last 10 years, it's averaged Y, or whatever it is. And that's fine. That's a macro level kind of conversation, and it's not worth nothing, but it's very dangerous to apply those averages to your portfolio because
it doesn't work the same.
It does not work the same. If you, in that 30-year period of time, depending on what 10 year, the average is the same. The average is the average over 30 years. But let's pick a certain 10-year period of time. And I'm not trying to get too far ahead here, but the order of which those returns came in are going to significantly affect your portfolio. And when you begin, to your point, Matt, to withdraw money from that portfolio, it compounds this effect in a significant way. And so it's really important to get this down. Averages do not mean much at all for planning.
I think we should give an example.
Yeah, let's give an example.
So this is we're going to do this math for you. So just listen along, and we're going to explain the difference between what we're all used to, which is just average. We all know how to come up with an average. You add the numbers together and you divide them by how many numbers there are. Super simple. Mm-hmm. But that's not what Aaron's saying is that's not how it works when it comes to your money, when it comes to your investments. That's not how it works. And if you are figuring out the average, Aaron, does the order matter?
No.
It doesn't matter.
No.
It's just, what are the numbers? What are the numbers? Add them up, divide them by how many there are. It doesn't matter which order you add them in. You're going to get the same average, right?
Yep.
And that's how we all learned averages growing up in grade school, probably, 5th grade maybe,
Exactly.
6th grade. All right, so let's do we're going to do 6 numbers. 10, -10. We said 6. Let's do 4. 4 numbers instead of 6. It doesn't matter how we do it, but it'll make it easier.
Stick with us here on the math. It's going to get somewhere, I
So
promise.
4 numbers, and the average is going to be 0. I'm just going to tell you what it is ahead of time to make it easy. Our 4 numbers are -10, +10, -10, +10. You add those together, you get 0. You
Right.
divide it by 4, you get 0.
Right.
Yeah.
Zero average.
It's basic math.
Basic math. Everybody can do that. Sequence of return risk, as it relates to your money, says, no, actually the order matters. When we just did the average, it doesn't matter if we do -10 plus -10 plus 10 plus 10, or 10 plus 10 plus -10 plus -10. It doesn't matter the order to get our 0 average. We're always going to get a 0 average. But when it comes to investing your dollars, the order actually matters all of a sudden.
Right. So high level, here's what it means. If you've got $1 million, you lose 10%. Now you have $900,000.
You gain 10% back.
Getting 10% back, you're only getting 10% of $900,000.
You're not gaining 10%
So you're
on
getting
$1 million.
$90,000. You're not
Correct.
you're not back up to $1 million.
You're losing 100 and gaining back 90. So now the order in which you get your returns actually has a huge impact on your average. And nobody talks about this. So let's say Aaron has $1 million portfolio and he gets his -10s first and his +10s second.
I'm going back to work.
Actually, let's not. It's Al from Alpharetta.
Al from
yeah, we
Alpharetta.
won't do it to Aaron. Al from Alpharetta. So he's got $1 million. We're going to do times 0.9. That's a 10% loss. 900,000. Pretty simple. He lost 100 grand. Another 10% loss. 810. Okay, so he's at $810,000.
I'm calling my advisor.
Yeah, I'm firing the advisor. Now we got 2 years of positive 10% returns. So $810,000 times 1.1, a 10% return. 891 times another one, 980. So it's a 0% average, but we do not have $1 million anymore. We have $980,000.
And that's without withdrawing income. Now you want to compound this issue. Now imagine that those are the order of the returns you're getting in your portfolio over a certain set of years. And while that roller coaster is happening, you're also withdrawing money each month for your income. And now it's chaos. Now your portfolio feels like you don't know where you are. You thought this return equaled that balance, and you thought if I just subtract the income I'm taking out, then I could do the math. But the order of which those returns come in is critical.
Do I have any control over those sequence of returns?
You have
Kind of.
Because I keep hearing negative, and I'm going, well, then what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But on the flip side, there is the opportunity for a positive.
If you time it right, and Matt did the math on getting 3 negatives first, if you got the 3 positives first, this is the whole idea of the 2 different brothers.
Yeah.
Al from Alpharetta and
John from Johns Creek.
Jim from Johns Creek. The 2 brothers, they had the same amount of money. Everything's the same. So no variables different except for the order in which the returns come in. And that's where
So
this
good and
picks
bad
up.
timing
Good
would
and
be.
bad. Yeah. If
bad
you roll the
ti-
dice and get lucky and get those good returns early,
Yep.
then the same but opposite result that Matt just mentioned, you're going to end up with way more than $1 million if you got those 3 positive 10s early versus the 3 negative 10s early.
And the situation just gets worse as you start taking money out. As you start taking money out, because if you have bad timing, let's say you retired in 2008 and you lost 38% of your portfolio, well, you still have to live that year. You still have to spend money that year.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're forcing yourself into selling low. You're forcing yourself into locking in losses to sustain your lifestyle. And so, Mark, you asked, what can you do about it?
Yeah.
Well, if all of your money, if your solution to this sequence of return risk is anything that is just fully invested in the market, then that's not a solution. So like the traditional solution would be, well, we just got to manage our risk and we're just going to have the right mix of stocks and bonds. The problem is the name of the game is not make sure you have the right amount of risk. The name of the game is making sure that no matter what's happening in the market, you will always have a bucket of money to pull from that is not going backwards.
Okay.
That's the name of the game. So if you do have a bucket of money that is not exposed to the losses, when those losses come, you can take your income from that bucket of money that's not going backwards. You're not forced into selling at a loss and then having less shares participating in the rebound, forcing yourself into selling low and then buying back in high, the opposite of what we all try to do, which is buy low, sell high. Mm-hmm. You have that bucket of money that's not going to go backwards. When the market doesn't cooperate with your plans, that's where your income comes from. Unfortunately, most people and most traditional advice, it's manage your risk. It's have the right mix of stocks and bonds. But as we saw in 2022, they can both be down at the same time. So if your stock portfolio is down 20 and your bond portfolio is down 13, like it probably was in 2022, all right, well, where do you go for your safe money? You don't have any. And so if that's your solution, it's not one for sequence of return risk. And so these two brothers, one of them has good timing where he gets all his wins early and his account grows really fast and he gets his losses late. He dies with a couple $1,000,000. Other brother gets all his losses early. He has to withdraw from that account while it's down. Now he has less dollars participating in the rebounds, and at some point he runs out of money.
So it's possible that in your portfolio over a period of time, your returns cumulatively are more than your losses, and yet you still have less money than what you started with. That phenomenon is possible, and that will kind of blow some minds of people listening. If your cumulative returns,
like your average return.
Yeah, your average return over a 10-year period of time. Those add up to be a positive number, even when you weigh in the losses. And yet, even with that math, you can still have less money after 10 years than before. And it's because of the order of which they come in. And this is a big one, folks. Like, this is a huge one. And if you've never had this conversation or done this math or looked at not just your averages, not just what's my average return, but in what order do they come in and how did that affect my income? If you have not had that conversation, you do not have a financial plan as far as we consider it. Mm-hmm. We stress test these types of phenomenons and many others for every single one of our clients because they're so overlooked. And if you haven't had this conversation, we love it. Please call us 770-741-0120.
But you said something there a couple of minutes ago, and we always preach this here on Retire ATL, all powered by the Vincent Financial Group. Again, that number 770-741-0120. We have a representative standing by right now. We invite you to spend some time at retireatlradio.com, retireatlradio.com, timing the market, dangers of timing the market. So what happens is we're talking about sequence of returns risk, and we just said it. Well, it depends on how we are in the market. So how do you help minimize those losses when we should never time the market?
Well, and if you don't have a bucket of money to pull from that's not going to be backwards when the market's not cooperating, it's something none of us have control over. None of us do. We do not get to control the market's cooperation with our plans. But if you don't have that bucket of money to pull from, what it means is you are going to be subject to this sequence of return risk, and it's going to force you into being a market timer. Mm-hmm. It's forcing you into that, unless you just kind of close your eyes and decide, I'm just going to hope and pray that like this all works out.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a bucket of money to pull from when things are going poorly, then it falls on you to actually exercise that. When do I get in? When do I get out? When do I sell some of my portfolio to recognize some income? Like, when's the right time to do it? Because now timing matters. Timing matters a lot because I'm totally subjected to the whims of the market.
The only way this works out for you in the end, if that's you, is number one, the dice just fall your way and you kind of get lucky and it just, by the sweat of your brow, it worked out.
And it's not like that can't happen.
Right, it can.
Yeah.
And it does sometimes. Or you have to have a whole lot more money than you actually need. A lot of margin in your portfolio to fill in the gaps. If you're not in one of those two categories, then you're forced to do that. You're forced to try to control the one variable that none of us can control.
So to kind of put a bow on this conversation about how to help minimize loss in our portfolio, what would you tell the Owls from Alpharettas? What would you tell the Jim from Johns Creek? What would you tell them?
You have to have polarity in your account.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
In your portfolio. Polarity, scientific term, all it means is you have two starkly different types of categories of money. Mm-hmm. Most portfolio managers, retirees, 401ks, you name it, they like to operate in what we call the squishy middle. It's like stock, bond, mixture, everything that Matt just said doesn't work in your favor in these timing situations. But
it's like the Swiss Army knife approach.
Right. Exactly. Polarity on the other hand, is like, think of a battery. You have a plus end and a minus end. They're very different. They're the exact opposites. And so the way that we do some aspects of our planning is to say you need to have a bucket of money, if we can use that term, that is growth. It's growth oriented. It's a little bit more risky. It's got its ups and its downs, but it stays in its lane. Its idea, its goal, its purpose is to grow over time. The other pole, the other bucket, is a safe one. To Matt's example earlier, our definition of safe money is one that at least has the upside, the possibility of beating inflation. So under the mattress, cash, typically money markets and CDs, they don't count because they're going to be they're going to be losing money to inflation. Number one.
Let's come back to that in a second.
Yeah. Number two, it has to have a solid, I almost said contractual, but it can't go backwards. Literally, regardless of who's president, what interest rates are, what the markets are doing, et cetera, it's got a floor of 0. That's the safe money. And so both of those characteristics have to be, that's the 2 buckets of money. And only if you have those 2 pockets to pull from can you weather these kind of storms we're talking about, because in those down years when the market's crazy, and even the anomaly years like 2022 was, where both the equities markets and the bonds markets were negative, you better have some money to pull from that's not negative. And if you can have your portfolio organized in that way, then you can weather these storms.
Right.
But it's not market timing that's going to do it. It's actually having a suite of types of money, if I can say it that way.
Yeah. Your Swiss Army knife is not the solution. Like, if I need a hammer and a knife, I want a big, heavy hammer, and I want a really sharp knife. I don't want something
a sledgehammer and a scalpel.
I don't want something that's trying to do both. I don't want one end to be a scalpel and one end to be a sledgehammer. I'm not going to be precise enough, and I'm going to get hurt, right? But in polarity, it's like a battery. You have the positive and the negative side of the battery. The middle of the battery doesn't do anything for you. You never connect to the middle of the battery. You connect to the ends. Polarization in your portfolio is exactly what Aaron said. Growth money being growth money, safe money being safe. Now, he made the comment that we need it to beat inflation, that it's not cash or like buried in the ground. But the truth is, and this is what all the Al's over there in Alpharetta and the gyms in Johns Creek, like, this is what you need to understand. Even if your safe money did not grow at all, but you got the polarization right. So even let's say you got $1 million portfolio and you took half of it and you got really aggressive with it, and you took half of it and you kept it in cash, or you buried it in the backyard. Done right, you will actually end up with more money, not earning anything on your safe money, as long as it really is safe and it becomes a safe haven for when the market doesn't cooperate with your plans. That polarized portfolio will almost always beat the squishy middle portfolio that's trying to do everything at the same time. And this is something that we talk about every single day. We talk about this in our workshops. People don't believe it. People don't believe it when we tell them, but it's just how it works.
I got to say this. This topic is critically important. It's dangerous to do this kind of math and talk in these kind of hypotheticals over the radio, because my fear is that people are hearing every other word or kind of driving and kind of multitasking and not getting this. But it's so critical that I just have to say, if any of this conversation, even if you didn't follow it and you're like, wait, these guys are crazy, that math was wrong, or I think you missed something, even if that's how you feel, you've got to call us. I want to close the loop on this conversation with anyone listening who at least has some interest in this, or if this is news to you. Like I said, my fear is that some of this gets lost in the details over the air versus sitting face-to-face in front of someone. So if this is at all interesting to you, or this is the first time you're hearing this, call us at 770-741-0120, even if all we do is talk over the phone. Even if we just meet over a digital meeting,
right?
Zoom or Microsoft Teams, whatever you use, or to close the loop on this and to give some examples, I think is really helpful. This is critical for anyone planning for retirement.
And this is also something that you cover in a lot of your seminars, and you're consistently putting on educational workshops throughout the community. Let me give that number real quick, 770-741-0120. 770-741-0120. We have a representative standing by right now, or you need to call, hang up, lock the number in, call us back first of next week. But if it's on your mind, we invite you to reach out to the Vincent Financial Group. Always get more at retireatoradio.com. And speaking of seminars, a great opportunity to meet the team, to meet Aaron, to meet Matt at one of your upcoming seminars. Matt, tell me more about it.
That's right. We've got a bunch scheduled really for the rest of the summer. I can't believe that we're here.
I know, right?
It's kind of wild. really throughout the rest of the year. We've committed to doing them for the remainder of the year. We'll be mainly in the North Metro area, and we kind of swing from east to west to further north. And so we will definitely be having one close to you. Call us, 770-741-0120. We can give you kind of the schedule, make sure that you find one that's close by. But what I will say is we get consistent positive feedback. Every single person that leaves that seminar, at least this year that we've done, has said, wow, I really learned something. I actually am going to be able to take something from this and go home and implement it, whether they decide to hire us for professional help or not. Like, that's actually not necessarily the goal of the workshops that we're putting on. The goal is to give you actionable education that you can take and use and hopefully improve your situation in things like sequence of return risk that you probably haven't looked at, or polarized portfolio. Most people haven't heard of that. They don't know what that is. So that's the goal of these. Give us a call and we'll get you hooked up with one that's close to you.
So just to close the loop on our two brothers story here real quick. So Jim in Johns Creek and Al from Alpharetta, again, everything being equal, had the same amount of dollars invested the exact same way, and they both spent the same amount of money every year. The only difference was Jim retired in the year 2000 and Al in 2010. And so therefore, the returns that they got came in at a very different order. And, Jim, after 10 years, had $874,000 left, even after taking income out. And Al only had $96,000.
Right.
So basically about to run out of money.
And so, again, same returns, same portfolio, same income, and even the same returns themselves, just in different orders, meant a significantly different end of the story.
Insurance products are offered through the Insurance Business Advanced Planning Group. Vincent Financial Group is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Advanced Planning Group are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Advanced Planning Group and IPW are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be constructed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Vincent Financial Group is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained by sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Vincent Financial Group. This podcast is a paid placement.